And a good morning to you once more, Lagos. You're tuned in and listening to Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. Welcome inside of Freshly Pressed. It is 7:30 today, Thursday, the 2nd of August, and we've got our usual Thursday analysts in the studio with us. It's very exciting to have them all. Funmi Odude, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm good, Kalu.
Excellent. Great to have you here. As usual, we have the Sisi of Lagos, the original #1, always coming here trying to make me look bad, but you not make me feel bad. I came back from holiday.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Bakare
You were on holiday. I was in Onira Riviera. There's a difference.
Excuse me, but you were also on holiday before. You think I was not watching you? Oh my God! And
okay, touche.
And we've got Ugo Dre of Naira Metrics. Good morning, Ugo Dre. How are you doing?
Morning for those of us who can go on holiday.
But makes lots of money while staying here. Yes.
Our one and only Silver Fox. We appreciate you. Lagos, and of course we appreciate you as well. Make sure you join us in conversation this morning. Share your thoughts and comments on today's stories simply by using the hashtag freshlypressed981 up on Twitter, but also by sending us messages to our WhatsApp number, and that WhatsApp number is...
That's 0809-444-0981.
To be honest, Twitter will probably serve you a little better because the comments can be short and concise, and we've also put up a picture of the stories we're going to be covering this morning, so make sure you head over there right now. And last but not least, we are streaming on YouTube, so we're just waving to our YouTube followers up there. Watch the live stream right now. You can see the many colors of the rainbow in the studio. First story, though, let's talk about President Buhari, who's beginning a 2-week vacation to London on Friday tomorrow from the Daily Times. Well, they call it a 10-day holiday to the United Kingdom. Every time we see our president leave the country, there are always rumors of visits, things explode as far as the general public believes the full reasons for taking a holiday, and especially now as we can feel the policy heating up. It's getting ready for 2019 elections. It seems a very curious time for the president to be going on a break. What are your thoughts?
Yes, well, we're in the season of defecation and defection.
Jumping.
Somebody call it defecation. So we're in that season where people are cross-carpeting here and there, all because we want to save our democracy.
Politicians without borders.
Yeah,
Politicians
they're
without
trying to
borders.
save our democracy.
Right.
So the president is going to take a much-needed break. He's been under pressure for some time now. The last time I think he went on in 2017, if you recall, he spent about 100 days for so-called medical.
Can we ever forget?
Yeah, no, we can't forget. We can't forget. And our good old vice president was there as acting president, and he did quite well. And at some point, some Nigerians were hoping that maybe he could just
Don't say it.
Anyway, so Buhari is going on 2 weeks vacation. National Assembly is on recess. Social media is on fire.
And APC is now bulimic and anorexic, and PDP is overweight and obese.
Exactly.
What to do?
So interesting times, guys. Interesting times. I don't know. I mean, if I was the president, would this be the right time for me to be going on
the man can send you.
Well, the guy too is saying like, I cannot come and keep myself.
I can't come and die. I can't come and die. If they're going, they should go.
They should just go.
They should just go. Let's know how many members of the family remain.
Just try and manage everything for
Absolutely.
Very interesting. Any comments? Because I sort of half expected to see this time around again questions as to the wording of the letter, what you're handing over. Because you remember the last time a letter was transmitted, our National Assembly lost their mind as to the wording that was used, whether, can I remember the precise wording, whether you can make him acting president or,
yes.
It was very curious, but yes. We move on from that. Mr. Ireti, we're definitely going to address your comments of a bulimic APC and a bloated PDP, simply because later on Oshimole is talking and saying that, well, they still have a majority in the House at the end of the day, so whoever wants to jump can jump. Funmi, let's come to you though and talk about the appeal court. The appeal court have nullified a judgment stopping the National Assembly from reordering polls timetable. And we've taken this story from the Punch newspaper, so please feel free to go over there and of course read more details of the story. Now, we're being told that if you remember the 25th of April earlier this year, the Federal High Court in Abuja, I believe, had assumed jurisdiction over the National Assembly's desire to reorder our election polls, and now that you took on that role, you didn't really have locus standi. Can you please break the story down for us?
Okay, so I think it was March, the Federal High Court election or training the Senate from passing such a bill. And I remember, I think it was in April that I wrote an article for Financial Nigeria, and I did mention that I felt that it was a breach of the principle of separation of powers, because in summary, the way our democracy works, the legislature makes laws, the judiciary interprets laws, the executive enforces the laws in summary. So when you have the court that telling the legislature not to do something, and that's the point of the appeal court. Okay, we do, if you feel that a particular act or a law passed by the National Assembly is unconstitutional, because the Constitution is the ground norm, is the basis by which we test the validity of every other law.
Okay, as a litmus test, essentially.
Exactly, as a litmus test. So if any law that is being promulgated breaches any provision of the Constitution, you can approach the court to declare it void and null. But the problem in this instance is this had not yet been passed.
It was a bill, it was not an
a
act.
bill. So you were effectually restraining the National Assembly completely. So at least as the Court of Appeal has held, and which I completely agree with, it was a situation of jumping before it was time.
Okay.
Wait for them to make the law.
So having said that, now let's look at the actual effect of this for the national. Does it mean and decide if they want to try and continue in that direction, and then if somebody else perhaps wanted to bring a suit challenging the validity of the law, should it become a law? Is that a separate? Because I'm trying to understand so everyone can understand exactly.
Well, what
has
happened now? What has happened now is the National Assembly at that time had removed that particular provision. Anyways, because the president refused to assent to it. But yeah, it certainly they can reintroduce it if they want, if they are ready to pass through the process all over again, and well, the president, this particular president at least, would probably not assent to it again.
All right.
Does this end up in the Supreme Court at some point in time?
If any of the parties are interested in, sure, they can go. A court party can decide who disagree.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Lagos, of course, send in your comments and your thoughts to us, and of course, we'll start reading them out in just a little bit. First of all, let's go over to Twitter, or we'll go over to Twitter in just a second. Keep sending in the comments. We'll move on to our next story. Mr. Ireti, actually, I'm going to jump to your story very quickly. Let's talk about this one from the New Telegraph, shall we? The federal government is set to repatriate Nigerian prisoners in China. Now, we're really talking about a prisoner swap agreement between the executive who ratified that and China. And what are your thoughts on this story?
Well, I don't know how many Chinese, we're talking about prisoners. I don't know how many Chinese nationals are in our prisons, but I can take a wild guess. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not up to 5, perhaps. We're not known. I'm surprised because we're not known for dealing with non-Nigerian criminals very well. We often tend to get them sent back to their country.
No, but they're quite a number.
Yes.
Yeah, but there are quite a number of Chinese.
And I will say yes, especially when it comes to immigration. We do know that periodically we see it. They tend to be slightly smaller headlines, especially in this season of politicking and all the.
If it's immigration, yes. I mean, let's say prisoner swap compared to the amount of Nigerians who are in jails in China. No, I doubt it. Actually, they shouldn't call it a prisoner swap. They should just say they're doing us a massive favor. They're sending back our boys back to us, and we don't even have prisons to put them into. So I don't understand why we're doing this, because one thing we do know that in Nigeria, the way we deal with our criminals in jail, we just kind of we see it not so much as a way of correction, but just as a way of dumping them, get them off the streets. In China, if you think Nigerian jails are bad, Chinese jails are 3 billion times worse. And think of Chinese winter, right? So that's really where you send Ojo Olomoto. How do you say that in English? I don't know, but that's really where you send that bad boy. I think his name, like they say in the yardies, if you think your name bad boy, go there, and then you'll know. So yes, they're sending some of them back to us. Can we handle them? I don't think so, actually. I don't think we can. I don't think we have the infrastructure.
Here's the question I was going to ask, though. Can we say that this is, in a sense, a slightly positive thing that the Nigerian government is doing for Nigerian citizens? Because you did mention that the conditions sometimes in foreign jails, in Chinese jails, especially depending on the laws that are there, can be rather harsh and can be a lot more severe than perhaps even the crime would warrant. And so in that sense, the government is doing something to protect its own citizens by saying, okay, fine.
No, thanks. Protect those of us that are here, because you haven't even managed those of us that are here who haven't committed any criminals yet.
This is my thing. Again, I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I know.
But do you understand? It is a foreign country. It is a different language, and sometimes people do just end up being caught by accident. They didn't actually do anything wrong. Perhaps they didn't understand the law. They didn't understand the language. They were defrauded into a dangerous situation. And we do see that. We see prisoners abroad. We see all these shows, and a lot of the time the Nigerian government have been accused of just leaving their own to languish elsewhere. So
I do
those
get where you're
could be
coming
the
from.
people we're swapping.
I do get where you're coming from. You do get a very small minority, small percentage of innocent people who do end up in foreign jails
and also,
unfairly.
sometimes when people just see the Nigerian passports.
Yes, but the majority of Nigerians who are in me are not innocent. They're not the relatives who want back. I actually think they need to be dealt with properly. I have no sympathy for those who go abroad to commit fraud, drug criminals, whatever it is. Okay, if you are unfortunate and you get sort of caught in something that you didn't know about or whatever, fine. But like I said, they're very small. And I did say to you, in the UK, I used to do translation for, Nigerian immigration sort of detainees and stuff. And yes, they do want to come back home. That's totally different, I think. Okay. I think when it's immigration, yes, you must bring them back home because this is their home. They have nowhere to go to. But when it's criminal, please keep them there. Let's spend the money. Don't bring them back. We don't have the infrastructure. Look, they're going to release them into society. Yes. That's the long and short of it. And then what? And then we have even more criminals than we have in the National Assembly.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. We've got comments coming in up on Twitter.
Yes, this one from Steve Obiako says, I'm waiting to see if the government obeys these two court orders, NASS to reorder the election and the bench warrant on INEC chairman.
Steve, just to point out then, the court is not ordering the National Assembly to reorder anything. Exactly. They simply nullify the ruling of the High Court. There is a difference.
Also, this one coming in from Memphis says, politicians without borders, that should be the name for the biggest political party in Nigeria.
I think so. One of our artists, Steve Kiameno, he actually created a little poster, which I thought was fantastic. I retweeted that, so you can check my handle for that one.
And finally, Ayo says, the president has every right, according to the constitution, to go on vacation. I believe with the vice president acting on his behalf, Nigeria is in competent and safe hands.
All right, thank you very much for that, Ms. Ayo. Now let's talk about this bench warrant, shall we? So the court has ordered the arrest of INEC chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, and this is for flagrant disobedience of court orders. Now Justice Pam on the 5th of July and on the 10th of July had ordered Mahmoud to appear in court. He didn't, and most given by his counsel was, listen, he's attending to urgent business in Mali. I said, listen, this is not tenable because 3 times he's refused to order the court summons, and we will not allow them to turn this court into a toothless dawn, because someone who is a learned person basically should know better. Funmi.
The only problem I have with this is the fact that she waited 3 times, because we've started to slowly give room for this. Let's back up a bit. Okay, so this arrest warrant is because he refused to show up. Let's even go to why they're asking him to show up in the first place. So there's a Supreme Court judgment asking the INEC to recognize, I think, the PDP chairman of Anambra State. The man is saying that INEC has refused to obey that order, and that is why he approached the court. So we are back to disobedience of court orders, and it has become a trend, and it is dangerous because there is absolutely an order. And basically, courts are used in several other ways. But when the court restrains someone from doing something or mandates someone to do something, that is practically the only means to ensure that those orders are obeyed. And I don't know, it's getting scary. And Cheta put out a poll on Twitter yesterday where he assumed that the police would not carry out this bench warrant, and what should the judiciary do if the police fails to actually arrest this man? And the majority of the people say it's go on strike. I'm not sure if that will work, but this is where the pressure groups such as the NBA have failed. It would mean it will harm the ordinary citizen more than it will harm the government if the judiciary goes on strike. So this is where we expect pressure groups such as the NBA to come forward and do stuff. We can't have
the Nigerian Bar Association.
Yes, that's the Nigerian Bar Association. We can't have a judiciary start carrying facts and judges carry plaques and start walking the 3-arm zone protesting. But you are the pressure group that houses every lawyer in Nigeria. This is where you come in. It is, apart from it being your bread and butter to ensure that the judicial process works properly, So I don't think the call should be what would judiciary do if this feels to happen. We had series of, I mean, it's not a big deal anymore. It almost feels like it's not a big deal anymore for the executive not to obey court orders. We've had series of that. It is, what will the Nigerian Bar Association do? Because I mean, I don't even want to call on the regular citizen now. Let's focus on this. Very nice. You know, I'm still sure if you read, okay, they read it because we surely refer to it. But I mean, Bukola Saraki's statement was on point, and I'm waiting for a response that is on point. That's just an aside, but all the responses that have been made so far, with the brilliance. Let me use that term.
But I think let's get away from the Maradona and the whole sort of, you know, in us. Yeah, okay, fine. You write good English. Move on.
I want to remind you of the Sicily trial. At the beginning of the trial, when the entire universe asked him to resign, he stayed put. I do not see Bukola Saraki resigning.
But again, we're talking about what does the Constitution say?
Back to what the Constitution says. So our Constitution bars cross-carpeting and says that, but gives an exception. What the exception is when the political party you're cross-carpeting from is divided. A faction
is any political party's name. Wouldn't it be you have
yes, it's actually, you know, Nigerians just split the with its
thank you
members split to the gallery. It's not actually required to the seats typically produce the has been elsewhere. So if I'm back and forth, I don't give a damn about budget.
You just be neutral of Nigeria.
Then he should resign.
But we all know. I mean,
so let's just say that he doesn't have honor.
Let's just say he doesn't have honor. The brilliance of his language is neither here nor there.
If you have honor and a lot of time on your hands, you can give really good details of that story because there's a lot of cross-carpeting going on right there. But we have to move on right now. Mr. Ireti, we're going to talk about this next story from the Vanguard newspaper.
This one says the Lagos State government, through the State Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team, yesterday has resolved to prosecute perpetrators of sexual harassment in the workplace. And the coordinator of DSVRT, Titilola Vivadeni, said this following the allegation by staff of Unilever PLC. Mr. Ireti, your thoughts about this one?
Well, my thoughts is this is good news. So they vowed to sanction, to prosecute them. First of all, I want to ask, do you investigate? Right now, I don't even think they investigate. But before we take it outside of the organization, let's go within the organization itself. How much support, what structure, what complaints procedure? I don't think there is for an employee to be able to go and complain about sexual harassment at work. I've experienced it. I experienced it when I was working in an organization. I was in shock. I was new to this country from the UK, and I thought, I beg your pardon.
Yeah,
I stopped myself. Yes, I stopped myself from slapping him. Seriously, because that was the next thing that was going to come, was a slap, and a nice dirty one. But I stopped myself. I thank God I controlled myself. But the point is, I wouldn't have had anywhere to go to, and I can assure you many people still don't. And I'm not just talking about women here, because it's 100 times worse for men as well. Because with a man, you can't even talk to your next man about it and say, oh, you know, Madam Ireti slapped my bum, or Madam Ireti touched me. Nobody's true. Or Madam Ireti touched my chest, because the next thing is, maybe you, they be fine boy. You know, that sort of thing. And we dismiss it. So yeah, much as this is good news, I think what needs to happen is, and it's good news, but it's not, it's certainly not new. What needs to happen is that they need to go into organizations, and actually, I keep saying HR in Nigeria is not HRN. Okay, I say it again. Come and attack me on Twitter. HR in Nigeria does not HR. At Cisioge Lagos. You lot are just administration paper pushers. Because if you truly were doing HR work, okay, there's the human. part of it, which is what's lacking, is the resource part of it that they only do. Right? Because if you do the human part of it, you would have structures in place and you would push your board to make sure that you had zero tolerance to sexual harassment, zero tolerance to bullying, zero tolerance to every sort of abuse in an organization. And in order to do that, you put measures in place where corrective measures, disciplinary, and deterrent. Those are all the things you need to put in place. It's not there. No more. And but very quickly though, no more, which is my organization that's pushing for this. We're close, fingers crossed, to releasing an app where you will be able to report sexual harassment and bullying and rape, etc., etc. You know, without actually having to feel the humiliation, having to deal with the humiliation. But we're still working on it. But we're very, very, very close.
For me, very
I'm
excited.
I was going to say that organizations like the DSVLT are actually very important because on paper, when you see the manuals of a lot of organizations, it's there on paper. And then when you try to follow the procedure that is on the paper of that organization, you're dispensable compared to your boss that is harassing you. And so they sweep it under the carpet. If you try to push it too much,
you lose your job.
You lose your job and of course they won't say it's because of that. You suddenly become incompetent. So organizations outside the company that you can report to is what we've been lacking in Nigeria for a very long time. And this now provides the right platform.
No, I beg your pardon, can I come in very quickly?
For time reasons you can't, but please know that we are talking about this as a Lagos Talk special today at 9 o'clock. So you can call in, you can sit in. So make sure you pay attention to that. But let's move on to our next story.
Okay, so this one's coming to you, Ugo Dre. Nigeria reduced capital flights. And the story says former governor of Abia State, Dr. Ugo Kalu, has thrown his weight behind the establishment of a national carrier, Nigeria Air, stressing that the move would help to reduce capital flights.
I don't know whether
those people that are angry, they should stop being angry. The government needs to invest. We're going to do how it's going to money to foreign airlines.
I'm here and then there on this story, like, you know. So let me try and explain what he's trying to say. So yes, when you have a lot of your businesses owned by local industries, then of course you reduce capital flight. So that's a no-brainer, right? But what I don't like, and then of course public-private partnerships usually work. So in some countries, right, especially developing countries, you need government to sort of, you know, invest or put some money down before private sector guys start to come in, because maybe some of those kind of industries early stage is very, very expensive. For example, rail abroad, you have private companies actually doing rail or actually managing roads. So but in developing countries you can't have private companies do that yet because there's a lot of risk. So government usually goes in there, clears the path, takes the risk, and then exits to allow private companies come in. But in airlines, I mean, I don't know. We have private companies doing airlines in Nigeria since the 70s. So I actually don't know what the government is looking for in here. And
please, they're looking to reduce the taxes we're paying on all these.
There's no reduction of any taxes, anything. It's all about service. And here's one thing he says here that I actually didn't like. He says, those criticizing Nigerian air knew that it is only through government that you can build a strong economy. It is only when government invests in the economy managed by private sector that we can move forward. Come on, Governor Ojuzo. No way.
No?
How?
Please explain to us.
How?
Why
Did you hear that sentence? Government invest in the economy managed by private sector that we can move forward. It is only when government invests. I mean, this is the kind of rhetoric that we don't like. So this is like a political rhetoric. So please, I personally don't like government in business. I don't like seeing government in business.
Okay.
I would only prefer government to go into areas where the private sector can actually go into, right? And because maybe citizens of the country actually need that kind of service. For example, maybe building interstate roads, rail, things like what private sector can actually invest in, or maybe refineries. So now that the likes of Dangote have gone into refineries, perhaps more people can go into refineries, so government can now step out. So that's how it actually works.
Focusing again on Nigeria, what do you think is the future of this national carrier? And bearing in mind that we haven't had one for how many years now? Has it been about a decade? I mean, each of them tend to last about a decade.
For the future, I mean, like, I actually don't think it's gonna take off.
Exactly.
You don't think it'll even take off?
I don't think it's gonna take off. No, I don't think. The money's not just there. It's a low margin business. Apart from the fact that it's just good in terms of brand integrity for Nigeria, it's actually low margin. A lot of airlines are not profitable, and I don't think Nigerians right now can manage an airline effectively. So it's not something I think we should bother going into. Awesome. That's my personal opinion.
Thank you.
Okay, just to wrap up, we're going to come to you with this one once again. Excuse me. CBN warns against Naira mutilation. And, well, this one's coming from Thisday newspaper. And, well, it says here, the Central Bank of Nigeria has once more warned against mutilating the Naira. It also warned that any person caught handling the nation's currency badly would be jailed for 5 years or given an option of 50,000 Naira fine.
5 years for squeezing it.
Yeah, I'm tired of for stealing it, they give you a slap on the wrist. So the CBN has been going on and on and on about mutilated notes for years now, and they've been pushing for their financial inclusion strategy for years, but it's still not working. But here's what I actually don't like about the statement that Mr. Benedict Madavo of the CBN said. He says if you continue to spoil the Naira notes, there will be no much money for the commercial banks to give out as loans to new customers, and this will affect our economy. You see, these are the kind of things that are driving us.
The language is affecting our economy.
It's just annoying, right? But
the language is affecting my spine. I think I can't stand straight.
So the CBN basically, so here's the story. CBN charges banks about 5% or so for returning mutilated notes. Okay. So that sort of discourages banks from actually giving out new notes. So they sort of fraud notes. And of course, it also creates another incentive somewhere else. So some rogue bank employees with some agents, they just move new notes out. So for every 10,000 naira that they're giving you, you're spraying in your weddings and parties, it costs you about 11,000 to buy 10,000 naira notes. And 22,000 to buy 20,000. Don't ask me how I knew. So the National Assembly has told the CBN, look, stop charging banks for mutilated notes. Just collect everything, clean them out, so that we can handle. So this is actually on the box stops to the CBN here.
All right.
And not us.
And very quickly, just a final quick comment. We know Asaba 2018 is going on. We know that there have been a lot of issues with our sports federations. The federal government won't interfere in sports federations. That's what Buhari is saying.
Well, from what I hear of all the sports pundits, most of whom I respect, especially my Tega.
Yep.
And
Asaba right now.
Where is she?
Asaba.
Tega, I hope you're listening, because we're on internet something. Solomon DeLong is the name that comes out of here. And it doesn't matter what you say. I mean, I just read all the Twitter messages again. And like I said, I'm going to trust Tega on this one and the other sports pundits. It doesn't matter what Buhari says. Nigerians just want Solomon DeLong to be gone. Once he's gone, then we can start having a discussion. I think that's the end of that story.
All right. Thank you very much for that. We've got a couple of comments up on Twitter we're going to read out just before we round up this particular conversation. So thank you to everyone who's tweeted at us. Olayan says, shouldn't it be private sector investing and government providing regulatory support? Our governor Sabini Silicon, he says. All right, that's from him. We've got a Taliban who says, for the organization in question about sexual harassment, the organization has a well-defined process for handling these matters, and it was the company that invited the Lagos state government. Oh, okay, thank you very much for that. While Chinemenwigo says, I don't understand all this fuss on Saraki. He is in PDP, and PDP is in majority in the Senate. So what else are you saying? They're not in the majority in the Senate, according to the story. So thank you so much for that. And we've got Big Tay, who's challenging for me on her non-point of law. She says, no, you're wrong on that point of law. The Supreme Court had in 2 previous judgments stipulated what a division as envisaged by the Constitution is. So the party must be unable to function at the national level.
Exactly. And that's very true. But hold on for me before you take the mic. And that's very true. And also what I think needs to happen is we need to test our laws. This is one of those critical times where the law needs to be tested.
Okay, so let me comment quickly on the national level. What happened was that in that case was that there was a guy complaining that there was fraction in his state chapter of, I think, Labour Party. And the court said division at the state ward local government chapter does not matter. It's division at the national structure that matters.
Thank you very much. And just to round up with this last comment up on Twitter from Eras Solomon, who says, point of correction, Oshomole did not decamp from the Labour Party as governor. He actually contested the election as ACN candidate. Then he was rigged out and went to court. He didn't go to court as a Labour Party candidate. So interesting, the political gymnastics.
But if we are talking honor, though, if we're talking honor, we do have to say that, look, in any other part of the world, and I will go back to England, if you leave your party, there is a by-election. That's what needs to happen. Honestly, it's got to a point where this needs to stop happening. Whether the Constitution is strong enough or not, we need to stop it from happening.
Thank you for that. We're done with Freshly Pressed for this morning. Good morning, Lagos.
Oh, that was
well done.